Yeah, the first myth is that wood burns. People are worried about the idea of living in the timber high-rise because wood is combustible. Well, what's important to understand here is that there's a difference between the concept of combustibility and the concept of fire resistance. The goal in fire protection in buildings is really about fire resistance, making sure that the integrity of the structure is retained in the event of a fire, making sure that the fire is controlled and doesn't extend to the entire structure. And solid wood panels are in fact very efficient at compartmentalizing fire, because it's very easy to make an airtight fire-resistant compartment with wood panels. But also, as a material, wood is very much fire-resistant because as it burns, as it begins to burn, it creates a charring layer, which then becomes an insulator and protects the fibers, the structural fibers that remain behind the charring layer. So there was an image that I saw when I was doing my master's degree course at Carleton University many years ago, and the instructor there showed us a picture of a warehouse that was composed of a post and beam glue lamp structure with open web steel joists and steel deck. And after a very intense fire, the steel was draping over the glue lamp post and beam like wet spaghetti, but the timber structure was still structurally very sound. So that for me really illustrated the difference between fire resistance and combustibility. The other fear or misconception out there when people think about building timber high-rises is that wood rots. Wood does rot, but it rots under certain conditions. And the critical thing to understand here is that no matter what the structure is, you have to have a good envelope to protect that structure. If you allow water to ingress in a steel structure, you will have long-term problems with the steel because steel rusts. It's really a design issue that relates to having a good envelope and having maintenance over the long term. There are structures in Europe and Asia in particular that go back over 1,000 years, that are built in wood, that have been maintained and taken care of over the years, and that still stand today in a high seismic zone and in a relatively wet environment such as you have in Japan. The other misconception that we run into very often is that wood is weak and unpredictable. Wood is an organic material. There's a lot of variation in wood, but increasingly, and particularly nowadays, there's been huge advances in establishing the quality of wood products, and engineered wood products in particular have a very high degree of reliability and quality control, and can also be very high performance. So if you compare now a solid timber panel wall to a reinforced concrete wall of the same thickness, you will find from a pure engineering point of view that the two are quite comparable in strength. And so when you take into consideration that wood is a quarter of the weight of concrete, for example, you can understand that from a weight to strength ratio, wood will fare very well. So therefore, there is really nothing keeping us, from a pure engineering point of view, from a pure structural point of view, there is nothing keeping us today from building 20 or 30 story structures.